Cordyceps does support liver antioxidant activity, which can be really helpful to kind of reduce oxidative damage. And it can even support like cholesterol, triglycerides, low density lipoproteins already within the normal range. And that's really helpful too. And that also supports cardiovascular health. So all of that antioxidant activity helps keep those fats in a healthy, reduced state, and allows them to do the work they're supposed to do in our bodies. You breathe more freely and take in more oxygen. So when you really stop and think about it, this really is a tonifying or whole body health and wellness supporting mushroom.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 24 of the Healthy Habit Podcast. Our medicinal mushroom expert and host defense education director, Mr. Jerry Angelini, is back on today's episode, folks. Jerry's an integrative practitioner with training and experience in psychiatric and chronic illness rehab, and is the host defense education director. Jerry's undergraduate and graduate degrees from Boston University form the foundation of his conventional medical training, which is augmented by TCM herbalism, Ayurveda and Western clinical herbalism. Since 2012, Jerry's led the National Science Education Team for Host Defense Mushrooms, and he offers mycologically and herbally informed education across the U.S. as well as internationally. Jerry, welcome back to episode number 24.
Hey, Dr. Dan, it's great to be back here with you.
Thanks for joining me today, Jerry. In our monthly check-in, I want to dive into the topic of fatigue like you and I talked about before we went on today.
Yeah.
90% of the patients that present here to the store and clinic here in Phoenix are dealing with some kind of fatigue or weakness. They just feel run down. And what are your thoughts on this? How can your background here of medicinal mushrooms and TCM herbalism and Ayurveda play a role in this? What's going on here?
For sure. So fatigue can have so many different, causes and triggers, and so it's really important to work with someone skilled, like yourself, Dr. Dan, who can sit down and do a really thorough history, can, go into details around what your diet and your food like, and then even potentially do some blood work to see if there are any other factors that are presenting as well. But, first and foremost, one of the biggest things in our world today is disrupted sleep. And it's just a really critical underpinning for just basic energy as you go through your day. And as more and more research comes forward from sleep studies and the like, it's like we need to have a solid 8-9 hours of sleep, and to really feel fully recharged and re-energized. And even in traditional Chinese medicine, there's this concept of the constitution. And if you have especially yin deficiency, so yin is an aspect of your energy, you've got yin and yang, so those things make up the whole, right? But if you're like struggling with something called yin deficiency, the first thing that is addressed is your sleep. And that's like a constitutional approach to health and wellness. So first is, are you sleeping? How can we help you sleep better, sleep deeper, not wake up multiple times a night, so that you get that, that full, solid, what we call sleep architecture going. And then after that, once we've got that hammered out, right? If we get that hammered out, right? Then we take a look at other things that impact fatigue and energy in your day. And so this can be anything from like vitamin sufficiency, making sure you've got adequate B vitamin intake, making sure your body is utilizing. Those are key, right? Because B vitamins function in your mitochondria, right? And they help you create ATP, which is that cellular energy that powers all of your cells and all of your cellular processes, right? And then we also take a look at how are you breathing? Are you getting enough oxygen in? Because oxygen, of course, without it, we don't last too long,
Right.
right? You can go without food for a good couple of days, no
Right.
problem. But 4 or 5 minutes without oxygen and you're done for, right? And so we take a look at, are you breathing well? Are you oxygenating? And then we look at, are you managing stress, right? Because if you're under stress, that's going to trigger a response in your body. It's called the fight or flight response, right? And there's also two more, freeze or faint, right? So
Mm.
it's fight, flight, freeze, or faint, right? And if you're under significant stress for prolonged periods of time, you will feel exhausted from that too as well. So, and that does lead to, like, stress can in fact kill us through a
Right.
couple of different mechanisms. So I can't stress how important it is for us to manage our stress along with sleeping, right? And then making sure that we have the nutrient intake to support cellular function and energy on that really basic in that really basic manner.
Yeah. And like you said, of course, get a proper workup, check your thyroid levels, blood sugar levels,
Yeah.
your BMI, other predisposing risk factors like smoking cigarettes or other drug
Yep.
use, excess alcohol. Of course,
Yep. All
there's
that.
many root causes of fatigue and weakness and feeling run down, right? But we do know mushrooms can help in all those things you mentioned, right? As a supplement,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
just kind of a general support for someone who's
Right.
tired,
Yeah.
like Cordyceps militaris, for example, which I told you
Yeah.
I want to dive into that one today. So, how can something like this help?
Yeah, for sure. So I know Cordyceps has been getting a lot of airtime lately with, is it called The Last of Us or something, that TV show where people are like taken over by the
Yeah.
Cordyceps mushroom. They're turned into zombies or something like that. So just a quick reminder that's all like that's a fantasy, right? It's TV, it's not real.
Hmm.
But I mean, if there do happen to be zombies around, you definitely want to have some cordyceps with you because it is a vitalizing, energizing mushroom. It does support oxygenation. It does support energy. It supports physical activity and exercise and
Hmm.
adaptation to stress. So you're going to be under a lot of stress if any of those zombies do come after you, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, all fun aside, like the reality is we do look at cordyceps as being one of the mushrooms that helps revitalize us. So, and I can break it down for you. Although cordyceps doesn't impact thyroid functioning, so thyroid works with it's that gland that's right in your throat, and
Mm-hmm.
it regulates your metabolism, right? Basic like body cellular metabolism through there are a couple of different thyroid hormones that work with that.
Mm-hmm.
Cordyceps, and actually, we haven't found a mushroom that directly impacts thyroid functioning at all. It's really interesting. It's
Okay.
one of the very few
Hmm.
systems that's not directly impacted by mushrooms. But what we do know is
Like it's not,
cordyceps.
you haven't found clear evidence that it's beneficial for the thyroid. There's no clear mushroom that can help it necessarily.
Yeah, there's no mushroom that we've found
Interesting.
that has a direct impact on T3, T4
TSH.
thyroid. Yeah, TSH. Like, it's very interesting. The mushrooms do impact metabolic functioning in other ways,
Okay.
though, just not through the regulation of the thyroid gland and the thyroid hormones themselves. So, when we take a look at cordyceps, we would look at it from the perspective of supporting in traditional Chinese medicine what we call kidney yang. And that's that life force energy that people have in their day-to-day life to get things done, to take action, to just function in their day-to-day world.
Right.
How we see it on a physiological level is that it it functions in a couple of different ways. It increases the volume of air we can breathe, so it helps dilate those bronchial tubes, and we bring
Hmm.
more air into our lungs. And then it increases something called VO2 max, or the amount of oxygen that diffuses from our lungs into our blood. So it helps increase the oxygenation in our blood.
Wow.
Super important for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons, right? Um, and then another mechanism is that cordyceps has been shown to support ATP formation in muscular cells and muscle tissue. So it increases the muscle cell's capacity to create energy and function. And at the same time, it's been shown to reduce things like lactic acid buildup and uric acid, which are metabolites from that process of making ATP in our cells. So it boosts the basic cellular function and its capacity to make
Hmm.
energy. And
Right.
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, like you just said, I pulled up a study here from, it's called The Potential Application of Cordyceps in Metabolic Related Disorders. This is from 2019, October, a Chinese study. It's literally what you just said. It's hitting metabolism in various ways, right? It's immunoregulatory, it's hypoglycemic. It literally helps you control your blood sugar. Like you mentioned, it can, because the improved muscle function can uptake that sugar better,
Right.
right? And then even protects the kidneys and the heart, blood vessels, which is amazing. And they're saying it's a therapeutic agent for as an effective treatment for these different metabolic disorders. So
Yeah.
imagine someone that's obese, diabetic, tired, out of shape, maybe high blood pressure. Is that could be maybe an application?
So, you know, as supplements aren't intended to quote unquote diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure illness or disease, right? So we have to kind of restructure the messaging around that to how does it fit into the different functions of your body, right? And so we're like taking all of what you just said and putting it into a functional perspective. We do know that cordyceps does help our body with glycemic balance. It kind of helps the body uptake glucose from the blood and then turn that into ATP, right? That's a really important consideration because it helps us and helps us feel energized, and it increases our capacity for athletic performance. It can, in fact, help us feel motivated to go out and walk 20, 30 minutes a
Right.
day if we're going to start like an exercise program. It does support cardiovascular health, right? Because anytime we're increasing the oxygen in our blood, and supporting like that optimal oxygenation, that's going to help our heart, which is also a muscle too, right? It's
Mm,
a little bit different, like the cardiomyocytes or the muscle cells in cardiac tissue are a little bit different than skeletal tissue, but they're still a muscle, and they're going to benefit from having optimal oxygen levels so that they can function too, right? And then cordyceps does support liver antioxidant activity, which can be really helpful to kind of reduce oxidative damage. And it can even support like cholesterol, triglycerides, low density lipoproteins already within the normal range. And that's really helpful too. And that also supports cardiovascular health.
hmm
So all of that antioxidant activity helps keep those fats in a healthy reduced state, and allows them to do the work they're supposed to do in our bodies, which is help create, functional barriers like
Right.
the cell. The cell membrane is made up of some of these fats, these healthy fats, right? Like cholesterol is important in that. It's also part of our the hormones that our bodies make. So we see this with cordyceps supporting this um, these underlying functions that lead to health and wellness on a day-to-day level.
So imagine if someone starts taking more steps or maybe adding in biking 20 minutes 3 times a week, and then
Yeah,
some cordyceps. What effect
absolutely.
that would have on the blood sugar? Because a
Yeah,
lot of people don't know, where's that blood sugar supposed to go? Into the muscles and the liver
right,
is the primary sources.
right.
So imagine if you get the muscles working more and adding in cordyceps, which is protecting the muscles, helping them work better,
Yeah,
and helping the liver.
yeah, exactly. And it's going to help the heart too, and it's
The
going
heart,
to
yeah.
help you breathe more freely and take in more oxygen. So when you really stop and think about it, this really is a tonifying or whole body health and wellness supporting mushroom. And then there's even one more piece coming back to that stress experience. Cordyceps has been shown to support adaptation to stressors. And this, again, is really critical, like I said before, because whenever you feel like you're under stress, your body releases cortisol out throughout your whole system, right? And that comes out of your adrenal
Mm-hmm.
glands, right? But cortisol impacts your immune response in a negative
Mm-hmm.
manner. So cordyceps is going to support your body's immune response appropriately, right? So it support that engaged immune response, but it also helps keep the immune response functioning within, like we like to call, the Goldilocks zone. So it's going to kind of keep it from under responding and over responding, and it kind of keeps it right in that perfect place. And then because it's helping you feel more energized and it's helping you um, like just function better overall physically, you perceive yourself as coping and managing with those stressors more effectively,
Hmm.
which will then reduce your feelings of being overwhelmed and reduce your feelings of being out of control. It helps on a really subtle level your whole capacity to manage stressful circumstances.
So what's a good starting point then through host defense? Since we're talking all things host defense mushrooms today, I want to dive in. I know we have standalone cordyceps. We have it
Yes.
part of, it might be in the brain and body formula, but if
Yeah.
not that
Yeah.
one, there's in the Stamets 7 for sure.
Yeah.
Tell us
So yeah,
what's,
cordyceps
yeah.
all on its own. If you just want to try it out and see what it's like, you can do 2 capsules in the morning, and that should zip you on through your morning pretty nicely. Most people like 1 gram or 2 capsules. That's going to give you a lot of zip. Now, if you're really struggling with like energy as you go through your day, then do another 2 capsules at lunch. So do 2 capsules at breakfast, two at lunch, or if you want to do a powder, some people like powders. You can do a half a measured teaspoon at breakfast to start off and see how that works, and then add another half a measured teaspoon at lunch. You can put this in your food, you can put this in your drink, you can put it in your shake. It's
Mm,
all good, right? From there, you can also consider, like, we have a Cordychi product, which is half cordyceps and half reishi.
mm,
And this is my favorite
really?
athletic performance two mushroom formula. Super simple. Cordyceps also helps increase the parasympathetic nervous system. So that rest and digest, it brings you into that little place of zen and calmness. And so if you're really feeling stressed out, definitely think about that Cordychi, half and half. Again, 2 capsules at breakfast, you can do 2 capsules at lunch. If you want to do the powder, a half a measured teaspoon at each time. Now, with both of these, you can also do the liquid, like you can do 1 or 2 droppers. That's going to have a really rapid onset, like 2 to 5 minutes. Usually, people report that happening. With the capsules and the powder, you got to get it into your small intestine. You got to be digesting it. It takes a
Mm.
couple of hours for it to really kick in if you're using the capsule or the powder, an hour, maybe two. The liquid, like, talk about immediate. People report that like right off. So let's say you're going to go to the gym and and you haven't been to the gym in about 6, 8 years.
Okay. Go liquid?
Go liquid. Like, take 2 dropperfuls, put it in your water, right? And then drink it as you're at the gym. Don't do this at night, though. Do it during the day. It might keep you awake. We don't want you to keep awake. Remember, you want to sleep at night, right? So, or take those 2 dropperfuls of the Cordyceps or the Cordychi, like no later than 5 p.m. Again, we want to make sure that you're going to be able to sleep at night, right?
Right.
So, that's kind of how you would do that. Now, we do have our brain formula, which has lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, and it has been reformulated so that it's bacopa and ginkgo in it. Um, Great. Not a lot of cordyceps in there because this formula is really focusing in on your brain activity. That's why there's the lion's mane and the reishi and the bacopa in there. But Stamets 7 has cordyceps in it. The breathe formula has cordyceps in it. If you
Okay.
really want to focus in on breathing, that's breathe has cordyceps, reishi, and chaga in it. So that's another great option for people to consider too.
Amazing. So that's Cordychi. We covered the Stamets 7. There's the breathe formula. Then there's even the standalone Cordyceps on its own, correct?
Yeah,
Capsules,
yeah,
liquid, and powder available as a
yeah,
standalone.
yeah, as a standalone.
And that's through Host Defense, everybody. HostDefense.com. Come
Yeah,
talk to Stan, the demo man. He's here Tuesday through Saturday. Ask him about Host Defense mushrooms, and he'll show you Jerry's number one. I'm going to quote you on that one, Jerry. The
yeah.
number one.
I love that formula. It's so simple. It's just 2 mushrooms, but
And that's the Cordychi, guys. The Cordy, like Cordy, and then Chi, like
yeah,
Chi. Cordychi, which is Cordyceps plus Reishi together, right, Jerry?
yep, that's it.
HostDefense.com. HostDefense.com, folks. Cordychi. So remember, if you're trying for a quicker effect, you go liquid, right? That's
Yeah,
a smart way. Otherwise, the powder, you're probably mixing it in maybe with a smoothie, another food. It has to get
yeah,
digested just like everything else. I agree. I love liquid tinctures, but they're intense, right? If someone's not used to it, what can they
yeah.
expect?
They taste like mushrooms and alcohol, and because that's what it
Right.
is, right? It's mushrooms and
Yeah.
alcohol,
So
right?
people
So
might not be ready for that.
yeah, like I mean, if you've got a kind of like a discerning palate around stuff like that, stick with the capsules or the powder. The powder is really mild in its flavor, so it mixes well with just about everything. And you know, I mean, I've been taking mushrooms and herbs for years and years, so like I have a pretty wide variety in terms of what I find acceptable. Like I'm like, oh, that's not that bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, it tastes like mushrooms and alcohol, but I don't feel like it's that
Yeah.
strong flavor. But for some people, if you just don't like that flavor, stick with those capsules, maybe even the powder.
Right. And you get used to it, right? As you come to expect it, that it's going to be
I think
intense
so.
when you're using an herbal tincture,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's worth it for the benefits. Like you feel after a while, you get used to it and you actually kind of enjoy it. It's intense. It's a stimulating effect, right?
Yeah. Now, the other thing you can do is like, say, you're looking at your caffeine intake and maybe you're thinking about monitoring or adjusting the amount of coffee you take in a particular day, or even green tea or
Right.
just caffeinated drinks in general. There's so many to choose from. Now, you can like put a dropper full or two of the cordyceps or the cordychi in with that first cup in the morning. And what you may find is you may find that because of the sustained energy that the cordyceps and the reishi in particular in cordychi are going to provide, you may find you're reaching for that second or third cup less and less
Mm,
frequently.
right.
So it might be a great way to consider reducing caffeine intake while still like, some people like to get their day going with a nice warm cup of like, great, knock yourself out. But throw some cordyceps or cordychi in there. So you're maybe not getting the crash, like the
Yeah.
post-caffeine crash that will push you to considering a second cup.
Right. It's going to give you this natural vitality and energy. It's stimulating on its own that
Yeah.
subconsciously you won't even be reaching eventually for that cup. Now,
Yeah.
how long we got about a minute to go here, Jerry. How long
Yeah.
would this take to work? People want results. I've realized this being in practice. Like, if something's not kicking in after day 5, after a week, they kind of, I don't know if this works anymore. So,
Oh no,
how
your
would this work?
energy is like the day you're taking it. Like with cordyceps, it is literally same day energy support. Cordychi is a little gentler because it's half cordyceps, half reishi, right? But if you're taking 2 grams a day, that's a gram of cordyceps and a gram of reishi. So you're going to feel it, like for sure. If you're taking the liquid, it's half and half. So you're still going to feel it.
Right.
And it's pretty, with both cordyceps and reishi, those experiences are in the moment. Yeah.
Incredible. What a good one today. I wanted to talk to you about cordyceps for a while now because you can do an entire episode on that, right?
Oh, for sure.
And
Like, yeah,
because
it's a great mushroom.
it does 20 different things in the body and counting, right? They're learning more as we go. What's a good take home here? Recap 30 to 45 seconds before we close her out.
Yeah, cordyceps is your revitalizer. So if you're really looking to add zip to your day-to-day experience, definitely go right to cordyceps. You want to take it during the day because it will revitalize us, and we don't want it to interrupt our sleep at night. So daytime, start your day off with some cordyceps. Midday, get another experience with some cordyceps to help move you through your day with a lot of energy and vitality. And increase your breathing and adaptation to stress.
Is hostdefense.com a good starting point?
Great. We love it there.
We'll put it in the description box below. Jerry, thank you for your time coming on for episode number 24 of the podcast.
You're most welcome.
Appreciate you as always, my friend. I'm going to be taking my Cordychi literally because of this episode.
Right.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.